Thank you very much for joining the second part or the second phase of the Diminishing Resources for the environmental sustainability session. And I would like to thank a lot the GYA for the opportunity. It's a bit sad to be alumnus, but hey, we have more than one life to live, so we should be happy by becoming old. And let us present our thanks a lot for everyone to be so many. This is actually very nice to have so many great people. And let me please introduce Alex and Felix. And our panel also is joined by Ignacio. Ignacio had some difficulty to talk to us last time, but now we have decided that all the issues we have and all the outputs we will produce, we will try to split into 4 categories. And based on that, we've created 4 breakout rooms so that we will, Alex and Felix will be in charge of 2 of these rooms, and you will be assigned, all of the participants will be assigned to these rooms based on, I think it's a random criteria. So please, if you would like to ask to go to another room, you can do that privately, but please don't concentrate all in one room, which is COVID-19 and related to COVID-19. I think it would be fair to read out loud the names of the sessions, not names of the breakout groups. And maybe I could have some help with it because I'm confused a little bit with this Windows. Can everyone hear? If Felix, if you have the Google Doc that is working for you, could you please start or Alex? I don't know if Zoom is working for me. Everyone's microphone seems to be off. Alex.
Yes. Hello, Sasha. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Sasha.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming and welcome you all. Yes, I can help you, Sasha, but I'm not clear what are you asking or what are you facing?
Where is our 4 names of our breakout groups so that people will go to. So I think that in 5 minutes or so, we will all be in the designated breakout groups, and we will be moderated by 4 people, which will be me, yourself, Alex, and Ignacio, right? If Ignacio is happy to do that.
Yes. Yes. I don't know if Ignacio agreed to moderate one of the breakout group.
Yes,
I hope
she's. Yes. I heard he said yes.
Okay.
So maybe you could because I cannot find names of the breakout groups. Could you please tell us where we are going?
Sasha, it's in the chat.
In the chat?
Just check the chat box.
Mm-hmm.
The link to the doc file is there.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks, Jennifer, and thanks, Anindita. Mm-hmm. So, Alex, would you like to moderate the topic number 1? What are the main drivers of biodiversity loss and how to reconcile this with the use of resources?
Of course.
So, yes, then maybe, is there already an idea of which people will be assigned to this breaking group?
I think that it would be evenly
distributed. Maybe by alphabet or from the top of this current list that we see.
I don't know, but it is important to be evenly assigned. Is it fair? I think.
Yes, and if people really want to go to this group, they can leave their room
randomly
and join. They can ask Kirsten or Jennifer. They would know any questions related to how to be in one group or another, and how can you write, how can you switch microphones on and off, can be helped by Kristen very well.
Yeah.
Just a quick notice. Just a quick notice. Yes. Please do not leave the breakout rooms. I cannot. If you leave it, that the system thinks you don't want to join, and I
Yes.
cannot add you back. So everybody will be assigned randomly and
then
evenly.
they can ask if there is an emergency of some sort, they can ask you, right, in private.
Yes, they can request help, and then I will
Yes.
see this and come to help.
Thanks a lot. That is great. And then the second room name, and it will be Ignacio. He said that he would like to how to ensure good future in the Anthropocene for the next generations while preserving biodiversity. As humans, we are dependent on nature. How can we recognize and act on this? So please, and the idea of how to work in these breakout groups, can you please, Jennifer, if I can ask you kindly, could you please let us know, because I think you know how to explain it very well. This, what do we do? What do we want to end up in the working group, in the breakaway groups, breakaway rooms?
Hi. So there are 4 key topics identified by you and the moderators. And each breakout room focuses on one topic, discussing it amongst yourselves, and then also answering the question related to that subtopic. What can young scientists do? What actions can organizations like the GYA and NYAs take? And each breakout room will have their own Google Doc where you can write down your discussion and outcomes. And then when we come back to the main room, someone from your room will present for about 3 to 4 minutes what you discussed.
Thank you very much. I would be very thankful if people would also take a role. Somebody in the room would take a role of scribe to put together. So it will be much more effective if we moderate and scribe and talk. So I mean, for example, my possibilities of writing very neatly everything, even if it's a computer, are very limited. So if somebody could help with that, that would be amazing. And but I think that some people can do both very well. So I also, if moderators can do that, they could do both roles as well. And then the topic number 3 is there a relationship between biodiversity loss and the rise of the zoonosis? Will the COVID-19 pandemic motivate efforts to address the relationship between drivers of biodiversity loss and human health? And that is moderated by Felix, please. And so the 4th topic is how to gain knowledge from the local populations, how to decolonize and diversify research to learn from different traditions about the human-nature relationship. And I will try to moderate that. That is significantly based on the talk by Narendra from Calcutta, which I think made very insightful ideas. And if you have any questions related to the work in the breakout rooms, I think it's good to ask now, or also we can discuss how better to structure it, I think, in class second. Because I think that next, it will be only a few moments, right, until the start of the working in the breakout groups, right?
Breakout rooms are ready.
So if there are no issues, I invite everyone to work in these groups, and then we will be told when can somebody please let us know when we have 3 minutes or 5 minutes to go, when we have to wrap up, to try and include and prepare the finalized or semi-finalized list of ideas.
We will let you know when it's 5 minutes left.
Thank you very much. So with that, let us go to these breakout rooms, and we meet here again. Please do not go away in the middle of the discussion. Then we meet here, and we try to discuss again how we can put this together and what is missing potentially, because it could be something that could be missing based on people was writing until the last moment into the common Google Doc based on the 1st of July. So if something that is missing, we could still have time at the end of the discussion today. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you all.
Hi,
Good
Anita.
to see you, Anindita. Ciao, Elia.
Ciao.
Hi, Larsen. I admitted, I have the sudden right to admit people to the room. I think some other species are trying to get into the discussion. I hear the dog somewhere.
Is not yours?
No.
Ah.
Of mammals, I have only a cat, but it's very quiet.
Okay. I don't have permission. I don't have permission to have pets at home.
Because you work closely with modification.
No, because of my wife doesn't like.
I thought it's a viruses transfer.
Something about biosecurity. No.
It might be that your wife knows about biosecurity, something that you don't know yet.
Maybe she's so smart. Okay, everyone is back. So the floor is yours, Alex.
No,
Sasha.
but so we all of the moderators came back, right? So I think that Jennifer knows better what we're supposed to do now. Jennifer, could you help?
Sure. Thanks, everyone. I hope you had good discussions. And then now is the time to report back from those discussions. And actually, if we could start with breakout room 4, because Yuraina was our scribe and she has to leave soon. I don't know if she's even here still.
Mm-hmm.
If she is, she could report from it.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want me to give the wrap up of session number 4?
That would be wonderful in 3-4 minutes.
Okay, I'll do that. So good day. I don't know what here is morning. Good morning to everyone. I'm Iraima Cordeiro from Brazil. I'm representing, I am Tian. I was former from TWAS and from the Brazilian Academy of Sciences. And our session discussed how can we, I forgot actually the name of the session, but we discussed how to gain knowledge from local populations. So how to decolonize and diversify research and to learn from different traditions about the human-nature relationship. So we had like 4 to 5 people enrolled. So from India, Nigeria, Brazil, and also from China and Russia. And what we discussed, it was discussed that initially in some countries there are several different languages. So one important thing would be to communicate with these local populations and to receive and to share this common knowledge is to communicate well with these different populations. And so not actually just scientific communication, but communication in general. So Sasha suggested also to use devices that would help translating, as actually some people are not even able to read properly medication. So how to use this medication, how to translate something that clinician will say to implement if they don't fully communicate well in in English, for instance. And so communication is important. We also discussed about doing projects in schools, actually in most isolated areas that we can apply for funding. So Sasha suggested like philanthropic fundings that we can do. This is GYA could implement that, and to go to these isolated areas and to implement the scientific method with these children and to make them aware of the importance of sustainability, and also to implement what they use or their local culture with the scientific knowledge. So to understand, why am I using this food in this particular time of the year? What is it, the importance of that? This was also discussed, and also discussed by Anindita, is the importance that the government also, of course, it's important to know that we have these local traditions, cultural folklore traditions, but we must also be aware and understand about the science based on using these local food and etc. So I think in general, what we concluded is it's important that we go to these communities and we learn how to communicate with these communities, and we share our knowledge, and with, of course, the super and of important knowledge about using local food, local medicines, plants, and I guess that's what was mostly discussed, if I'm not mistaken. So Sasha, you can correct me, and Anindita as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are we on time, or we have still another minute?
I think we're good. We could maybe hear from the next breakout rooms.
Mm-hmm. We can still say something at the end if time permits. What's the other room? So we go number 3 now.
Okay, so I'm Vanessa Schweitzer, and I'm reporting back for breakout room number 3. I am a faculty member at the University of Waterloo in Canada. And breakout 3 looked at the relationship between biodiversity loss and the rise of zoonoses. The question was, will the COVID-19 pandemic motivate efforts to address the relationship between drivers of biodiversity loss and human health? We started off with Felix trying to make sure people had like sort of a shared base of knowledge. And he pointed out that actually the scientific community has known for a very long time that the ways that we engage with nature increase risk for a variety of disease vectors and diseases. So he shared a table showing that to us, and also pointed out that this information was published a long time ago. And so some of the things that we ended up talking about were how the scientific knowledge is not being taken up by governments because the practices that are increasing risk in this way are not changing, or they're not changing very quickly. So we talked a little bit about IPCC and IPBES, and how those two organizations try to identify what is the consensus knowledge internationally around these global change problems and the risks to humans. But we also agreed that we can see how they're effective in some respects, but then in other respects, we're not seeing the concrete changes happening yet, and now we're dealing with COVID-19. So that brought our discussion to the concept of One Health, and how this seems to be a relatively new concept, but it's trying to merge together human health, animal health, and environmental health. And instead of having these silos of how we approach health, to say, why don't we talk about One Health altogether? And perhaps this would be a way to make it clearer to governments what actions they can take that are synergistic and that help improve health across the board in all of these different fields. So then we talked about potential challenges for whether or not this would actually achieve the goals that it wants to achieve. One of the things is how sometimes national funding organizations do not encourage interdisciplinary research of this nature. They actually make it more difficult to secure funds for doing this kind of work. But then possibly private philanthropists are maybe private opportunities for getting scientific funding perhaps are more open-minded to actually supporting that kind of work. So that's where we looked at GYA itself and wondered if we could look at our existing working groups, bio to bio, global health and climate change, perhaps invite these working groups, somehow take steps to trying to get members of the working groups to look at the concept of One Health and start to articulate how GYA members can actually start working within that space. Also we wondered if outcomes from this panel could somehow be combined with outcomes from the COVID-19 panel that just wrapped up at this conference. So that would be another example of us trying to walk the talk of One Health. I just see a new note here, perhaps establishing a committee on One Health in order to think, advance, and promote this approach there were multiple scribes. I'm not sure what ECRs stands for. So whoever added that note, perhaps you could elaborate.
Usually that would be early career researchers.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, that would be another example of a concrete action then that GYA could take.
Thank you very much. That is more or less in time, Jennifer. That sounds very good to me and has the clear take-home message, right, for organization and the value for the broader societies that we will see. I think that Jennifer admits that we can go to another group. So now the group number 2. Thank you very much again. So we cannot hear. There's a photograph, but we do not see or hear at the moment.
Hi, hello everybody.
Yes.
Group number 2.
Yes.
This is Rodrigo. This is Rodrigo Nunes da Fonseca. I'm from Brazil, and I'm reporting from the group number 2, breakout room number 2, which the topic is how to ensure a good future in the Anthropocene for the next generations while preserving biodiversity. As humans, we are dependent on nature. How can we recognize and act on this? The moderator was Ignacio. The person that scribed was Vélia Siciliano. And I am Rodrigo Nunes da Fonseca from Brazil. And the other participants was Lacen and the other 2 people which unfortunately they had problems during the audio and they were unable to speak. We don't know what happens. So what we really discussed was really 2 questions: is how to ensure a good future in the Anthropocene for the next generations while preserving biodiversity. And as humans, we are dependent on nature. How can we recognize and act on this? And with that, we started, I mean, since Brazil is the country where the most vast biodiversity exists on Earth, yeah, we took inspiration in the beginning from the experience of Brazil. We discussed quite a lot the issues related to biodiversity in Brazil, and as you probably are aware with, we at the moment in Brazil, we have not much interest of the governmental agencies to really preserve biodiversity. You probably heard it's in everywhere, news, yeah? And the political decisions are making really difficult to act upon thoughts and guidelines of agencies, and particularly the deforestation of Amazon forest is going pretty bad. And the fact that the Amazon forest is really far from the big cities, yeah, from Rio, São Paulo, there is not a real perception of that. And this is an important issue. And we also discussed a bit about the possibility that in the future we will have some new virus spreading from the Amazon, from the fires, and from the loss of species and loss of biodiversity. We also spoke about a few. During the past months, a lot of Brazilian scientists, including the Brazilian Academy of Sciences and even myself, we wrote letters to big journals like Science, Nature, and so on, really telling the general public what is going on in Brazil and the fact that we are really lacking the regulatory agencies, environmental agencies from Brazil. They are really lacking power and support from the government, which is really bad for the country at the moment. And as you are aware, also the economic pressure from the international society would be, in our point of view, also one of the possibilities to make the government of Brazil to stop these actions and to stop the fires and support the fires. We were thinking about one possibility that we could do in the future would also be that the GYA would be involved also in activities related to biodiversity, as of course it already does. We have to collaborate with the Brazilian Academy of Science in some of these issues. And to build really the trust in science at the moment, which is of course a critical situation, should also improve the communication between the scientists and the importance of biodiversity, for instance, and the public as well as with the government. And in that sense, we have also the affiliated members and also the board of the Brazilian Academy of Sciences. They also developed webinars to tell the general public what is going on with science in Brazil, YouTube channels and other things with the virtual world. Yeah. And then we got experiences from Italy and Morocco. The communication between the scientists and the government, and Velia told about what happened in the whole situation with the COVID. That in the beginning we had the scientific community was established and government was following the guidelines, but later we saw what happened with Italy in the situation with the COVID and what is going on there. What can we do as a GYA and young scientists? Possibilities were put forward in Morocco, like let's say spoke about a conference about COVID-19 with main contributions from the impact on the human ecosystems and the analysis of COVID impact. And at the end, we discussed we tried to put forward some actions, like one possibility was to put up a document to evaluate the biodiversity loss and the correlation with the ecosystems, coordinated by a BO2 Bio working group that Velia brought it up. Another action would be to talk more to young people about the importance of climate change. That's something that's also lacking most of the time. And as I spoke before, these webinars invited scientists during COVID research, which is already being organized by the Brazilian Academy, but could also be organized with GYA and other people. And that we could coordinate with other academies. And to finish, the important message is that we cannot really, that Ignacio put forward, is that we don't use COVID as an excuse to push non-sustainable economy, but it's an opportunity to build up a more sustainable economy and without biodiversity loss and with biodiversity preservation. I guess that's all. I would also like to open the word also to, I don't know, to Velia and Ignacio particularly, and I thank a lot the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. This is great, and it sounds very good. I think it's 5 minutes done, right, Jennifer? So now what we are left, sorry, I paused the recording. So Jennifer, how are we doing with the time and everything?
We're doing great. There's one more presentation left, right?
Yes, I think it's a number one, right? The group number one.
Hello, Sasha.
Hello. Yes, Alex.
I don't know, Anina or Martin, if you want to talk or I continue. I don't know.
I'm happy for you to do it, Alex.
Go ahead.
Yes, Anina, go ahead. Thank you. Okay, well, in our group was discussed, and the members was Anina Rick, and thanks for staying here because in Australia it's later, Martin Dominic, Ana Hes Santos, Manwar Ilar, and Mohamed Boskud, Narendra Kumar, and Sahai Patil. We propose to question what are the main drivers of biodiversity loss and how we can reconcile this with the use of resources. In order of discussion, the main drivers the people think is the over-exploitation of soils, land usage changes, and degradation of habitats are the major drivers of biodiversity loss. But when we think about what is the cause of the degradation of the environment, maybe is the lack of the collective conscience, no? And this is because the main biodiversity loss is linked to the finally for the consumption, because the structure that we have encouraged the consumption and the continued growth of the economy. And with depends of the depends of the economy of this consumption is problematic. So the question is how we can reduce the consumption of that. But the overexploitation of soils and uses and can be avoided by recycling of materials. But maybe the main conclusion is the collective consensus to work together. And the second question was about the war. What are the next steps for young scientists and young scientist organizations like GYA or National Young Academies, and what concrete actions can be taken, no? And until discussion, the people say that we can use or we can explore and to restore the biodiversity using, for example, maybe natural-based solutions like using native vegetation and sustainable use of soil and water, and maybe reintroduce animals special into the particular ecosystems. The second one was things in the materials, because finally, you know, the consumption and the economy is based on the extraction of the raw materials. The raw materials are from the ecosystem services now that are provided by the ecosystem services. So we need to promote the recycling of materials. It's always a way to reconcile biodiversity. And one interesting concept was proposed for Mohammed. Mohammed believed that we need to create a new paradigm. This paradigm is the co-viability. And we understand the co-viability is between human, environment, and economic development. And we need to create this new paradigm. I think this is the key message. Anina, Anina said that we can work toward ensuring young climate scientists to get and sit at the table. This is a very key point. And it's connected with my insight that we need to connect GYA to high panel level forums, because it's the voice of the young scientists. No, GYA is now getting invited to things, but maybe we can spread this further through National Young Academies and helping to young scientists to prepare in this meeting, maybe training in policy, but maybe involve more and more members in the National Young Academies and GYA in this kind of forum. The presence of the young researchers in the high panel level forum, and how we can identify young scientists with something important to say. This is a very good question, no? and help them to get opportunities to do so. How might we ensure the high quality of our input into this discussion? And can we develop recommendation actions that our individual members can implement in their communities? This is the key question for the future. And how we stay involved in the high panel level forum, how we can put more ideas or more new thinking about the co-viability, or new thinking or propose a new paradigm from the young researchers into the high panel level forum. This is our group, and I really appreciate the participation of all members, Anina, Martin, Mohamed, Anna, Mangwari, and Narendra and Sanjay. Thanks for the discussion today.
Thank you very much, Alex. It is great and very concise. I think you left still some time for anyone who would like to contribute. So, if not, now do we have final word, or what happens now? We have to somehow make it into a statement-friendly version, right? Or that is going to be another step sometime later. And how this can be put in action is another question. What apart from the statement, can we take on actual work in the working groups, and how would that be reported to working groups and EC maybe, and reflected in the letter to everyone, to funders, stuff like that. Jennifer, what would be the normal action after that? I think maybe.
So, Sasha, I was wondering whether you would briefly like to tell everyone about your idea of approaching philanthropists for an international outreach grant where the working groups could come together and work.
Thank you very much. Yes, so this was because I felt that despite we had a lot of successes in a bio-to-bio working group, my time ran out suddenly after 5 years, but we still have not. I will still have a very little opportunity to influence the working group itself. You know, now it is in great hands of Lilia and Yulia, and there's a lot of great new members. So I'm very hopeful, but I thought what I could do. So I decided I will try to follow. I found some people that got philanthropy funding in the past, and I asked, I had Skype sessions with this person. Their topic was a lot more controversial, in my opinion, than the biodiversity, the importance of biodiversity for the survival of humans. But so there, if I can tell that, I think it's no problem, just for you to see how controversial it is. So it's a geoengineering, and it's spraying of particles into the atmosphere to cool the, to capture the solar radiation to prevent the global warming. Despite, I think it's a very hot topic. I think there's still a lot of, a lot of work needs to be done to get around the safety concerns and so on. But so biodiversity, everyone agrees that this is a good issue. So, but the strategy, but they managed, and so I was very impressed, and I asked these people to let me know, how do you do that? What steps do you take? So it looks like what is a good opportunity, which will equally work for us and for diminishing resources in general, is that we propose creating workshops predominantly in the global south. I was doing such workshops, but in the global north, in Scotland, in a little bit in Russia. The idea is that we explain our subject. So the teacher would invite scientists like myself, and I would spend some time, and it would be high school. Okay, it doesn't necessarily need to be high school. And I would talk about synthetic biology, about cloning, the human cloning, the plants cloning, possibly the mosquitoes and so on, things that are related to ethics of this, the choices, the informed choices, the danger. Now there will be even more to talk about the virus. It will be almost not difficult to explain to them the importance. But we explain to them how biology works, how the molecular scissors can now allow us to change so and so on. So, and then I would tell, now imagine this is 2084, the year, and your task is now to try to come up with a news piece or a pretend TV program or a poster or a drawing or a news article, something that comes out on this day, and with the imaginative situation that some of these advancements would come through, and they would make an amazing project. Some would, it would be about the first Scottish World Cup, when the Scotland wins because they have a genetically engineered football players. Some about more grim things that I wouldn't allow, that wouldn't let them out. But the idea is that we would do these workshops that would inform children in schools and would also inform us about how maybe the natural resources were used cleverly in the areas where schools are, which are in lots of cases in the global south, where they still have great ideas on how to use remaining resources. So we put this all into the report, and that could happen over 2 years. I mean, that is a long time, but there then we can have not 1 or 2 countries participating. We would have 20 countries participating. I think it's realistic with the power that we have in GYA and bio-to-bio. So that one of the achievements of the bio-to-bio is now we have a strong community of practice of at least 40 outstanding researchers from at least 25 countries. A lot of countries are in the global south, they're developing, and it would be easy to make such workshops. It wouldn't be too expensive because we would use local scientists, local teachers, and local kids. So it would, main expenses would be technical, you know, and then we would wrap this together. Maybe we would make a film, and I could discuss that with Nerina and other people who helped us in the previously, of how expensive it could be, how big film could be, and so on. 2 years is a realistic timeline where a funder would have a great film of what was possible with their money. The money that went well invested into the thinkers of the future, in the future elite. The society would be more informed in these countries. The people would be able to use the biodiversity and other natural resources more wisely, spark a debate, be more resistant to colonization, and so all of these many things, which would be very rewarding, I think, for the philanthropists, and quite a good investment. They would have a film that they would contribute to, and we would have a generation. Maybe I realize that the problem is very deep, and that even if it will take a decade or 20 years for these young leaders to grow up, then when they will become in the age of decision making, they will be very competitive, very nature friendly, and very clever. They will be very educated. They would have friends across the globe. I also thought that these school events could invite, for example, if somebody knows that there is somebody's grandmother or grandfather is a shaman or a medical person or someone who is quite respected by rural community, but maybe not even able to use computer, that person could be invited to the seminar, could have a discussion with a scientist, could have show the pride of the rural area to the people, and so on. I think that is doable. And if working groups, and we have already discussed that, we primed that in Cambodia with a number of GYA fellows. We have a small film as a result, and we could easily, I think, combine power in science education from the youth, from young science ambassadors for peace, and for bio-to-bio, and maybe other working groups that would have enough excellent GYA members that would take this in their local communities, and would, in 2 years, we would have a great full film full of great stories, and GYA would also benefit a lot from such an exposure, I think. Thank you very much. I don't think we had Flavia's, maybe Jennifer could correct me if I'm wrong, but Flavia so far did not answer her questions, right? We could not discuss them before. So far we could not discuss Flavia's output, but I think that International Science Council would also have a good good impression of GYA if we would have a film like that presented. It would be something that young people do anyway, and that's where our help would be most evident, I think, by some interactive things that are not expensive and that would be anyway a good output. Thank you. Thanks everyone. It was a productive discussion. I think that this is a benefit of this. I was talking to other brilliant people in the office, how this could actually make up for in-person meeting, because we already have a lot of notes in the format that is easy to put together, thanks to the our brilliant office in any case, and that we only spend 2 hours. I mean, of course, there's other time we had to attend that, but I think in general this is a good use of resources, such as time and money for travel and so on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Sasha. And yes, I am excited to know the outcomes of the other panels, the debriefing, and for having you know, the big picture of our conference, not only about our theme, but for all of it. So there is still work to do, and well, thank you everyone, and especially to the office: Jennifer, Kirsten, Francisca, Ana Maria, Beat, Sandra, James, Jim.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Alex, Felix, and Sasha, too. Maybe if I could add one thing before everyone goes. Like Felix said, the conference isn't over. It's going on next week, too. And the topics next week are higher education research conditions now in the pandemic and with virtual learning. And the second topic is engagement and science communication to and with the public. And so far, as someone mentioned earlier, these topics, all of the topics within the main topic, Heal the Earth, are very cross-cutting and keep connecting to each other. And I think that will happen next week as well. So we hope that you can join the discussions and the documents next week too.
Yeah, we open the panel on Tuesday for the communication panel. So please look at the videos when the office shares them on Monday, and hope to see you back for the discussion next week.
Sure.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
We have
Thank you very
finished.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Bye.
Thank you.
Stay
Bye.
safe. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Sasha.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Alex, and thanks, Felix, and thanks, everyone.